Hey guys, today I wanted to make a quick video on how to go from Figma to code. This is a topic that I found hard to find on YouTube, and it's an essential process if you're building websites frequently. And so in this video, I'll show you how to take a style guide and move it into your code base. In this example, we're using Next.js and Tailwind CSS in order to build fast. And as a bonus, if you want to stick around, I'll also be building a landing page using this to show you how easy it is to work with. So if you want to stick around, follow along. All right, so I'm just going to walk you through what we're actually going to be building. What we have here, style guide from Xflow. I'm not sure if it's a real company, but I found it off of a video that does the exact same process, but for Webflow. So this is where I got the idea. So I'll link him in the description, the video, because it's really useful, but it's for web. He has some really good tips in the video that also apply here, but the actual process for moving this style guide into Webflow is different from moving this Tailwind CSS. So if you want to go look at that video, I highly encourage it. But for now, we're using his template that he used to illustrate this point. Okay, so let's walk around. So this is basically what a style guide should look like. This makes the development much faster. So we have colors and our buttons, our forms, our container sizes, and here they use spacing system, vertical paddings and stuff like that. But like I said, this video was for Webflow, and in Webflow, you don't really have Tailwind CSS. So this is basically Tailwind CSS. As you can see, they're just giving them a class name and padding. Basically in Webflow, you would go ahead and create these classes and just apply them to containers in order to get a perfect padding. Luckily, we have Tailwind CSS, so we don't have any of this. So here we're just going to be working with the typography, colors, buttons, and forms. As you can see, this is a very simple style guide. Usually a larger one will have pages upon pages of components, but for now we're going to. So taking a look at our application, here we have a Next.js template. The starter template will be linked in the description with in the GitHub or the finished website also, so you can just go ahead and learn from it. So let's start with the process of switching from Figma to Tailwind. So I've already done this because it's just a bunch of typing, but I'll go ahead and explain what's happening. So here in Tailwind, once you start an application with Next.js, you'll be asked to use Tailwind. So this works the same with like any other Tailwind project. I'm sure it works like that if it has a Tailwind config. Here we'll notice a couple things. Okay, so I've actually already installed Shadson UI because we're going to be using it for the build. Okay, so let's go over how we apply our style guide from Figma. We have our typography laid out nice. Okay, so here, if we go to Figma, we go on dev mode by switching this toggle here, we click on the text, the sample text, we get the CSS for that text style, which is perfect. But this would be perfect if we're just using the regular CSS and we want to build faster and more explicitly. So we're going to use Tailwind CSS. And then here we can change it from pixel to rem. I recommend rem, even though he uses here pixels, using rem is much easier, more responsive. Okay, so now what we're going to do to our project, we're going to come here. So in our global CSS file, we're going to go and type in @layer_base, and we're going to put all of our styles in CSS variables. So why CSS variables? Because it's much easier to control and change later down the line, and it changes this throughout the page. So here we're going to start with our colors. So for our green, also, if you've never typed in a CSS variable, all variables start with 2 dashes followed by the name. So for example, here, the actual variable name is green50, and this is what it maps to, this color. In our color section, we have all our shades of colors, and we also have our names of the classes or the colors. Here, this is a Webflow class name. They use it, it's much easier to understand. It's like a Tailwind class name, but here I'm just using green 50, green 75, green 100. Okay, so now to get the color, you just click it inside dev mode, copy it. You want to go to your variable, type in the variable, and paste it right here. And do that for all of the colors. Like I said, I'll have this document in the description if you just want to follow along. This took me a minute to type. I mean, it's kind of repetitive, but it is what it is. As of now, I don't know of any Figma plugins. I might try to create my own, or let me know if some already exist. Something that's much easier to take a style guide to Tailwind. Please let me know if that exists. Anyways, moving on to the fonts, you want to click the sample text. Now we're going to go here and we're going to declare 2 variables depending how many properties your text styles have. So for font size, I use F S font size, and then followed by the name of the font size. For the display, we have 5 rem, as you can see right here, 5 rem. And also we have line height. The line height is 5.5 rem, so I did LH for line height of display. However, some typography will have various font weight, font style, or font line height, letter spacing, stuff like that. So here you would just abbreviate it and put the name as follows. Okay, so I got lazy for the headings. I just did H1, H2 through 6. For our base, I did base, large. Base means like just the body, basic. That's why it's 1 rem. It's important also to declare your base size in pixels. Here in the HTML, you go to font size and it's 16 pixels. So 1 rem of that will be this 16 pixels right here in the base. In the style guide, we do see we have quite a bit of body copy. I don't really recommend or see the purpose of having so much body copy. Then your website just looks all over the place. I just did large and medium, which is the base. Okay, so once you have all of your colors here, you might see some other ones, but that's a Shadcn UI. I'll go over that in a little bit. So we want to go to our Tailwind config, and here we see dark mode class because of Shadcn UI. It added that automatically. So here we're going to go to our theme and we're going to type in font size, and we're going to give that an object of all our font sizes. So this is basically going to override all the Excel, the small sizes in Tailwind. We won't see those anymore if we choose to do this. However, if you want to keep those, you can go to extend and put it in here instead. It won't override the default Tailwind sizes. If you want, you can do extend, but here, since we'll only have these styles, for me, it doesn't make sense to use any other Tailwind defaults. So I'm just going to override them with the font size object name. And here we're going to give it the value of this object. This object is going to contain a display, and this is going to be the key for it. This first word here is what we're going to type in to get the property. For example, here, if we go to our application and we type in hello world and then we save it, we go to our app, so we see hello world, right, in just basic 16 pixel font because we didn't add anything. Now here, if we want the heading, we go to text just like you would in Tailwind, and you click dash and then display. You see, we don't see any text, large, XL, nothing. We just see the ones we have here, and we click display, and now we have the display hello world. Actually, I just realized that I didn't zoom in to my VS Code, so I'm sorry about that for the first portion of the video. Let me move my camera over here. Okay, so here, like I said, our font size, whatever you write here for the key will be the displayed font name in Tailwind, and Tailwind IntelliSense will detect it, so that's really cool. So you can go text and H1, see we have all our text sizes. So here we're going to write what each text size is. So for the display, then we're going to pass in an array. This array takes in several things. Firstly, it takes in the font size. So in order to get that font size, we'll use a variable, the CSS variable that we declared earlier in our globals.css. Down here, we'll take it in quotes and we'll get that rem unit here. And then it takes an object with all the custom properties that I mentioned, the letter spacing, the font styles, the line height, all of that in an object. Okay, also you can have dashes in your names. However, you do have to quote them instead of just writing them out, because without quotes, this won't work. It's not valid, and it will work exactly the same. Okay, so for our colors, like I said earlier, you can overwrite the Tailwind colors like I'm doing right here, or you can extend them. Here we're doing the same thing, all in quotes, because I wanted to have the dash. So green 50 will be referencing the variable in global CSS, green 50, so on and so forth. So here, these commented out colors are the Shadcn UI colors, and as you can see, we can have different properties like a default in the foreground of a color, and we can use HSL, RGB, everything. So just make sure the variable is in HSL or RGB, whatever you choose. Oh, one last thing. If you have a custom font, I didn't know it, it's in the docs, but I like learning from a video. So if you need to know how to import a font, here it is. So here we go, just like they're importing, enter the enter font, and we have the Sora font, which is in the Figma file. Sora from next font /Google. these will only appear if they're Google fonts. If they're a custom font, you'll have to like import it down here. I'm sure there's other videos explaining how to import a custom font. I'm not doing that here. Then you're going to declare a constant using your font name, and inside we're going to have the subsets of whatever type and the weight, the font weight you're going to use. So if you're using bold or a light font, each font does have different weights, so some won't have bold or stuff. Just keep that in mind and look it up on Google. It should tell you. And then finally we just import it as variable. So here what it means, you can just go ahead in the body and declare a global font family, or to whatever class you want font family, and you use the var font Sora or whatever font you have. Okay, so let's begin with the build. Okay, so like I said, I already installed Shadsin UI and I already started laying out how I like to build my websites. I want to start with saying that this is not how everything should be done, and it's just my way of doing this. Just to like keep myself organized, I like to put my components, like actual like cards, badges or stuff like that, in my components folder, and inside of the components I like to put a layout folder that has all my sections. For example, here in our Figma file, we take a look at our landing page, and this is also broken down into sections. It has a nav, a hero, a services, a projects, and so on. So I have a layout for each, a layout component for each, my about and footer and so on like that. I like to start with building out my small components first and then my layout. That way I can just piece everything together instead of having to like, oh, I'm building the services, now I need to build cards. No, I like to keep like a steady flow in between my builds once I'm putting everything out. So I like to start with my components. Small components would be like this little card right here, the image cards, and this card like right here. I would also do the buttons, but luckily we have something called Shadsin UI, and this component library is amazing. It gives you everything that Radix gives you, but better, because they also use CSS variables and Tailwind by default. So this is great. So all you got to do is go here to the installation, click your framework. If you already have the project, install the through the CLI. However, I will let you know right now that if you do run the CLI, it will clear your global CSS file and your Tailwind, and it will overwrite with the Shadsin UI file. Just keep this in mind whenever you're building your application. If you're going to use the Shadsin UI, go ahead and install it right before you start, or declare a new global CSS somewhere else just to like keep a copy of yours. And your same thing with your Tailwind. You install the CLI, it'll tell you a bunch of options and stuff like that, and you just go through that. And then for each component you want, you just go here and you install. We're going to open our terminal and paste our button. Okay, so we have our button here. Now let's just add another button, check if it looks correct. Variant there. The variant is going to be outline, and let's just give this a class name of flex and then gap of 10, just to take a look at our buttons. Okay, so we have, yep, our contact me and a hovering one. Okay, so we have our two buttons perfectly. Okay, now let's move on to our second component that we have to build, and let's go ahead and do one of these cards. And if you take a look at this card, it also has an icon. However, it's in a different position. I don't know if I want to make that the same thing. It also has different gap sizes. Since it's only just two cards, I'm gonna go ahead and only make them each separately, but usually you would try to condense them, but this is a speed build. I'm gonna make a card. As you can see, we already started here a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and paste it inside here so we can see what we're working with. So our card and just our card here, and let's just duplicate them since they're three, and let's just give this a full width, a justify between, I guess, and height fit. Take a look at our thing. Okay, we shouldn't see anything yet. Okay, so we can see we have an H5 or whatever. Let's see, yeah, it's an H4. Okay, it's an H4 with some body text and an icon. Also, for our icons, we're gonna use Radix icons because I love how these look. So we're gonna npm install those right quick. So our terminal, I wish you could just, can you pull it? Oh yeah, you can. Okay, nice. npm install your Radix icons perfectly. Now close out the button. All these tabs, useless. Okay, so let's give it an H4. and we need it at the bottom since it's going to be the icon. So here we're just going to do icon, and it was like an arrow in the angle. So arrow down by arrow big. What is it called? So it's arrow here, arrow top right. That's what it's called. Okay, so you want to go here, and since it's top right, we want to do class name of rotate, if I can spell, 90, because that will rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, perfect. Now here, let's just give him title. Here, if we had our classes set to each element, it would give it the font size, but for now, I'm just keep it like I did. So I'll just give it a class name. You could go ahead and do the global CSS and do apply, and you apply it to every element if you want. It's easier, but sometimes I'll just, I'm gonna go with this right now. So here we're gonna give this a text of body. Should be a body copy. Yeah, it's a text of body. Let's copy this lorem. Perfect. Save it, and okay, nice. Now we need the measurements. So here we see, let's click on the card. See, I love Figma dev mode. We have a width of that, and we know this is a desktop, so let's just go ahead and give this a max width. So it can't get bigger than that. Max width of that rem. Oh, I already had it here. Okay. All right. So in order to stay consistent with the padding, I see that I'm pretty sure it's 6.9 padding rem. 6.7 padding throughout the document. So let's go to our page and give this a padding X of 6.7 rem. And let's just give it a top padding of, since we don't have the nav bar right now, let's just give it a 32 top padding just while we build our components. Okay, good. So now for our arrow is kind of awkwardly there, and we need a background also. So the background is black 50. So the background is black 50, the arrow is green 100, and the text is white 125. So with our Tailwind, with our style guide already in Tailwind, this should be super easy. We just go text dash white 125, we said, and a background is going to be of black 50, and our arrow is going to be a text of green 100, I said, and we're also going to give it a width of 7, height of 7, and we are going to do class name on this div with dash full, and then justify end. Oh, it needs to be flex also. So let's see. Oh, that does not look good, but because we don't have padding in rounded corner. Okay, so here we're going to do a gap of 2 rem apparently, and a padding across of 2 rem also, and we're also going to do a border. We're also going to do rounded, and it was a 1 rem of rounded corners. And let's take a look at this. Perfect, looks good. Okay, so it's a gap and no gap at the end. So okay, so we're just going to do padding here, and I think that's about it. The arrow is 1.5 rem. So if we want the exact measurement, it looks pretty close. But if we want the exact measurement, we can go ahead and do width dash 1 rem and stuff like that. Like I said, here there is no gap, so let's just do here padding bottom of 2 rem. That should fix that perfectly. That's how it should be. Okay, so now in order to make this component, we need to pass in some props. So title and the content. So we're gonna do title and content, and just replace that with our props. So content and our title. And now we have a functional component. Wow, beautiful. Here. Okay, so we're done with that card. Now let's go to this other card. This one has separate images, little elements, as we can see here. And we can take it as an SVG. So, okay, so it has element, title, and description. So let's go here to our components, create a file, new card with, I'm gonna just call it icon, card icon. Makes more sense, icon card. That way we don't get messed up with names. Icon card, React functional component. Here, like we said, we're gonna have a div with the icon. We can just paste it in. I'll show you what to do. Okay, and then we're gonna have a h4, I guess, title, and we're gonna have a p tag for our description. Content here, same thing, same stuff. You know, since it was so similar to the other card, that's why I said we can reuse this other card. But I'm being lazy right now. Lazy as in I don't want to restructure it to make it fit and give it properties. But we can use the same stuff. Here we're going to do class name of text, h4, text dash white, 100. Take a look at what we have. Okay, I haven't cleared it. Okay, so we're going to have a... Okay, so no borders, nothing at all. We're going to remove that. And I can't really tell how much. I'm just going to use an arbitrary. I'm just going to use some gap, and everything's aligned to the start. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the padding and the rem, the roundedness, and we're going to give this a gap of 3. Let's take a look at how that looks. And just right between item start. And then we're going to give this a class name of width depth full. And let's see what we... Okay, now in this div, we can just go ahead and do card. No, we can do icon, card. Just copy it 3 times. Actually, okay, so let's take a look. Nice, that looks hideous because we have a background. And we don't need a background. So we don't need a background. This is going to be transparent. That looks much better. Actually, let's copy some of the... We're going to copy some of the text right here just to make it look like something. Okay, now we actually want this. There's going to be 6 cards. And we're going to do flex wrap. Wow, that was horrible. Flex wrap, justify between, width dash full. Okay, so what I saw they did here, they actually just created 2 of these like this, and then they just wrapped it into a div. This was going to be, it's going to be a justify between. Just how they... Okay, so they just did this. They just have a div with 3 cards and they just space them out. Okay, good enough. Now that we're done with our cards, actually forgot to make that one take anything. So we're gonna make it take content, make this one take the title, and accept them. Perfect. Now we're done with the cards. Let's take a look at what other component we might need. So these icons are SVGs. Okay, those are just SVGs. They have no property. Okay, so for these SVGs, what I like to do is create a file and just name it icons.js. And what we're gonna do here, just copy them one by one. But we have something much faster. We have Figma. Wow. Whoa. Make sure everything's saved before I do that. Dash add dash all. Okay, so since that would take forever going back and forth to our Figma file, we're taking advantage of the new Figma plugin of VS Code. All you got to do is go here and log in. So really nice. So we're going to create a React functional component, and we're actually just going to export the function, and we're going to name this each icon. So this is the dribble, I think, dribble icon, and we're going to return just a this, and we're going to copy the SVG like so. And you can option it, and then you can just give this like class names and stuff. Since we're passing in the perfect size, I'm not going to do that. All we're going to do is export our functions and just create some more, and it gets messy really fast if you don't just like close them. Okay, so insta SVG, close that one, remove it, and I'm gonna do this for everyone. Okay, I have done it for every single icon. It took forever, I guess. Okay, now I'm just gonna show you it works. Div class name, flex, justify between, width dash full, and let's import them all here. Dribble icon, we have our icon. Nice. We can just give it a background later on, but we have our little icon, so that's good. That's all we needed. Okay, moving on. What do we have next? Okay, so let's see, what do we have next just to prep? So this would be nice to prep, but I'm just gonna keep them simple, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, now for our images, we can just download these directly from Figma, which is great. So let's just download these. Wait a damn minute. If we do this from here, does it put it in my project? Wow. Okay, so if you download a picture with the Figma plugin, it automatically saves it into your public images folder. How cool is that? That is amazing. I did not know you could do that. I was about to just freaking export them. Whatever. Wow. Okay, let's do PNG. Okay, you can't do more than one. I mean, I'm already being really picky. So we're going to export them here. Just click OK. Wow, that is really cool. Let me rename that. I should have renamed it. Okay, car co-working. Actually, let me delete that because it's not PNG. Okay, here, Google Home. Just want to do 4x PNG. I wish it would save the presets, but you know what? I don't care. Google Home. This is like a ocean thing. PNG. I like that it gives you the option to like name it here, like right from the thing. Like that is so cool. So useful. So fast. Okay, let's go ahead and create this image card. Even though it's just one text and an image, always makes it a smooth process once you do it. So let's just do image card. That way we can optimize each image by passing in the correct thing. So here we're going to take in a div and it's going to take an image and we're going to use the next image. And our height, we actually do need this in pixels, huh? Our height is going to be 476, width is going to be 302. And our source is going to be an object for now. Oh, we do need an alt. And we can pass this as alt. Actually, right now, let's just give this alt a blank thing. And down here, we're just going to have a p tag. This is much faster than having to switch through things. Okay, let's go back to rem. So this is our, did it tell us? What's the name? No, it does not tell us. 1.5 rem. H6. We're going to give this a class name of text H6. And we have a color of white 100. We're just going to give this a title, an alt, and a source prop. Okay, this is going to be a class name, this div. Class name of flex, height, fit, has no padding, it does have a gap of, let's say, 2. And has a column, has no borders. We're good. The image is already rounded by the export, so we're good here. Image card is done. Now, okay, so the last thing is to export is this little logo. So this logo, we're just going to go here and call it logo. This is going to have the SVGs of the logo. This is going to be in a div because it's going to be a little circle. So class name, the circle is just, okay, and as you can see, we have our logo. So we're ready to build. Okay, so now that we are ready to build, this will be a much faster process. Okay, so now we have all of our layouts perfectly in order. This is why I like to have it, just because it's super easy just to look at everything from the home page. Now we work on each individual section. So for our nav bar, we're going to use our little Figma plugin. So we're going to need a nav component. So let's call this nav, and this is going to have a class name. It already has the padding in the page. So we're just going to do a flex here with that full justify between, because we have some things. Now here we're going to do a div. This is going to hold our logo. So we can type in our logo and perfect. Now we can add another div. This is going to have our links. So we have padding. The exact padding, if you want the exact padding, you can do that. So we're going to do that. So we're just going to have a OP tag and sample page. And we're going to give this a class name of padding y-1.2 rem. I'm going to just round them. Padding x-2, 3 rem. Flex items dash center. Justify between. Justify center. Okay, here, same thing. We're going to do a class name of flex, since it already has padding. Yeah, okay. Now we're just going to copy this 3 times. And this is style guide. It's going to be tutorial. Okay, and this one will have a special text of green 100, I think. I think it, yeah, green 100. Else it will just have a text of white 100. So let's make this important. Okay, so I forgot to do flex row. Oh, right there. Okay, perfect. Now we do need some top padding, top and bottom padding. So it's gonna have a top padding of 0.25 rem. And we're also gonna have item center. Perfect. So that's our nav bar. Super easy. Now to our hero. So we have web agency here, and so basically 1, 2, 3, 4 contents in here. So let's go to our hero and start off by just giving this a class name of flag, so we know it's going to be columns. And we are going to just do justify between for now. I don't know if this we want gap or just between. I think we do want we could do padding of 8 here, padding y of 8 rem, and that way we can just do justify between. Now we're gonna have a, don't know if this is an h1. Would it be? No, okay, this is b tag web flow agency, and we're gonna have an h1. I'm pretty sure that's an h1. Now another p tag, and we will have a button from our UI button. This is just gonna be a default variant, so we'll leave it as that. Class name of text dash base. You see, okay, it would be nicer to have your elements to have your font by default, but oh well, I'm not gonna do that right now. See how we're looking here. Okay, so we need to have our width fit in our gap more pronounced and everything centered. So here we're just gonna do items centered, and let's just wrap this in a div, and that should fix it. And let's give this a class name of flex with this fit. Okay, perfect. So we can give this a gap of 1.5 rem and max dash width dash say large, hopefully. Okay, that should work. So just give it flex and then item center. So it doesn't specify, it looks like it has way more gap. I'm gonna just add another thing with the button. It should be smaller text, so let's go ahead and do text dash base perhaps, or footer. That's the smaller one we have. What happened here? Why is text footer white? Oh, okay, font medium. We don't need font medium. Text footer. It is text footer. Okay, so that's basically our hero. Now let's move on to the services. Services, we see we have an 8 padding and a 3 rem gap. So let's go ahead and do that. Like we said, it's going to be a flex column with full gap of 3 rem, a padding y of 8 rem. We have our 3 cards in our title. So you're just going to do h2, I'm guessing. Yeah, h2. This is a class name. Now we're going to have the div with our cards. I think it was just a default card, so I should have named it something other than just card, but oh well. So class name flex, and each card is going to take a title and a content. Here I'm just going to do discover. I'm just going to keep it lorem. Let's take a look at that, and that looks about right. Almost. I guess it has more padding. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it says. What I could do is, instead of just center it and have a gap. Oh, for 1.5 rem. Okay, that looks much better. Okay, so that was our services. Now for our projects. So our projects, we have an 8. Oh, we should have just done a layout for each. It's whatever. And like a layout wrapper, since they all have 8 padding. Okay, so 8 padding, gap of 3, and 2 divs. Looks like an H3 and H2. I apologize if you can't read from the Figma plugin. Now let's give this a width dash full, and now here this is our div, our title div. Let's put our images in here, and we did image card, so that way. And now here we can do a source, and we're gonna give, hold up, we're gonna give these a source of something, and we are gonna give them content. That is our projects done. I'm not sure why the image is not loading up. So I'm just gonna give it the same thing as the car picture, since that one is loading up. For our about section, as you can see, we just have one picture and this div. So it's just going to be a simple. So this is going to be simply a div with flex and justify between with full width with padding of same thing, 8 rem. And yeah, it's between. So that's that. Okay, that should be it. Now let's add an image, optimized image. And we're going to give this a height. Take a look. We want this in pixels. So a height of 375 with 563. Alt of, I'm going to just do image for now. I mean, it's a test. And the source, most important thing, source. And I named this co-working.png. Perfect. The image will just be centered. So centered. This is going to have an H2 and a paragraph. A line break right there. A paragraph. Some lorem. Finally, it's going to have a button. This is going to be a variant button of outline. This div is going to have a class name of flex dash column. And do we have a gap or a, not sure we have a gap. We do have a gap 2 and 3 rem. I'm going to just do 3 all throughout. Probably go ahead and put the image in a div. That way we can have more control about the sizing. So class name is going to be a flex items center flex -1. Perfect. Now this is going to be contained in the div. It's a class name of fit. Perfect. Now we have that little button. So that looks good enough. Okay, so now the why work with us section. This one is pretty simple. We have 4 divs here. 1, 2. This is 1, 3. And then 1 for the button. Super simple. Let's get to it. Okay, so why us? We have the same classes. Should have done a wrapper. Okay, so here we're gonna add our icon card. I think we accepted title. Let's take a look at it. So title and content is what we want. This is a bunch of the same thing. So here's just a bunch of lorem. Ideally, you would want to also receive a prop for the icon that you want to display. But for now, we're just simply doing that. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to duplicate the div, and we should copy that. Now, let me remove this Figma thing so you can actually see this properly. So what we did is we have the same div right here. So we're just copying it. Let me close it just to see smaller. Okay, perfect. Now we need to give this a height or a gap between it, and also a max width to this, like this. Now we can justify center the items. Then we have a let's get in touch button that we can easily just copy from our hero. And then our gap is 4 between each. So we can just do here gap of 4 rem. And here we gotta import our button. Nice. And we're gonna fix the padding in a little bit. So actually let's just go ahead and do that now. So right now what's happening here is that we are in a display that is bigger than 1440 width. So that's why it's looking like that. So we can easily fix that. We go to layout. So we want to do a justify center flex, and then in our page, we want to specify the max width. Perfect. Now, as you can see, we have a nice contained space, which is really pleasing to the eye, and it can be bigger, it can be smaller, the window, and we will still have the same width. Okay, so last up, the footer. As we can see, the same thing. Same 8 padding, and so this would be a div, and then just 4 of the same divs, which I'm probably just going to copy and paste, and then it will wrap. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's go to our footer, finally, our last one. Here we said it's going to have a div, and this is going to be like the content thing, and then we're going to have another div, and this one's going to be the wrapping one. So here, let's just class name this flex, and it's going to be horizontal. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a padding of y of 8 rem again. Let me pull up the Figma plugin again. Okay, so this div is going to have the icon. We're going to have a class name of flex dash column, and then we're going to have items starts. It's going to be a gap. Please be the gap. Perfect. Okay, so we have a 0.7 rem gap, I think, and we're going to have the icon here. Then we're going to have a H5, it looks like, Webflow partner, H6. Then we're going to have all of the icons in one div. Okay, so now we are going to create our div. Here's going to have a p tag of about us, and now our links, team, mission, and network. So we're going to do a flex dash column, gap of 5, item start, min width of large. We'll do large, and width dash full. Perfect. Now here we're going to do flex. This parent div, we're going to do class name flex. And it's going to be a flex wrap. So flex wrap gap of, let's say 20. I don't know. And we'll check it out. Let's see if that works. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. D. Okay, nice. So now we have to give the parent div a width dash full, and that has been it. So as you can see, we have recreated this website. It has no animations, no interactions, nothing like that. It's just the layout and the content. But we did this in a smooth, easy fashion, much faster than it would have been trying to create every single element from scratch as I went through it. This is the process I use for my websites. Well, first of all, I have my style guide, I move it to Tailwind CSS, then I create my components and I build from there using my layout method. Once the content and the website is built, then I go and add my animations and stuff like that. I just like this process because it simplifies building websites for me. I hope this video was helpful for anyone looking into building websites in much faster, easier process. Let me know if you want to see more of these types of videos or more animation type of videos. And thanks for watching.